Hello everyone, I'm the Enforcer, and welcome to the breaking news. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and support us on Patreon, link in description below. Today we have heard breaking news coming out of the Republic of Poland as another Russian drone attack was attempted on the country, but apparently was thwarted by Polish authorities. In the midst of the ongoing tensions inside of Eastern Europe and the ongoing drone attacks, the Republic of Poland is now opening up bomb shelters throughout the country, and also creating an app that will allow for citizens to find the nearest bomb shelters to them in the midst of an ongoing air attack. The Republic of Poland is continuing to reach out to the Ukrainians and create a joint cooperation in learning how to deal with Russian drones. The United States of America is continuing to build up forces inside of the Eastern Caribbean, as we are also continuing to see the 22nd Marine Expeditionary Unit's combat readiness being displayed in Puerto Rico, while at the same time Venezuela is now conducting significant exercises on the islands directly off of their northern coast. The United States of America has conducted an anti-narco operation today near to the area of the Baja Peninsula, seizing a Mexican low-visibility vessel that appears to have been skimming the coastline and heading towards California. Inside the Middle East, the Republic of India has continued to be sanctioned, as it appears that they are helping the Islamic Republic of Iran to build a port at Chabahar. The United States of America is attempting to regain the Kabul airbase inside of Afghanistan, or Bagram as it's been called, and we've also been able to hear that the Islamic Republic of Iran has attempted a ballistic missile test today that may have been successful. The Israelis have continued to find themselves under intermittent attacks by Houthis, although most targets are being shot down. The Russian Federation also suffered the loss of a petrochemicals plant at Salavat today within the Ufa region, while at the same time President Zelenskyy of Ukraine has announced a new counteroffensive is occurring in the area of Donetsk, and we've also been able to hear from Ukrainian commanders on the front near Pokrovsk that several encirclements of the Russian Federation's armed forces near Dobrpilia has occurred. On top of that, we have been able to hear that the Baltics are continuing to take actions in support of Western interest and in against the Russian Federation, while at the same time we have also been able to hear from the President of the United States that he is disappointed in the President of the Russian Federation. We have a massive amount of news to cover, and we're going to be making sure to get y'all through every single bit of it here in this video. Moving us into Poland, we have been able to hear that another Russian drone attack was attempting to enter the airspace of the Republic of Poland. According to Polish authorities, they stated that Russian drones attempted to violate its airspace again, only days after another encroachment prompted Warsaw to call on NATO to hold urgent security talks about Article 4, which is consultation with allies in the midst of a crisis or military situation. We are seeing that the Republic of Poland is continuing to find itself at the very bulwark of the Eastern Alliance of NATO, and we have also been able to see that the Russian Federation continues to test their airspace with these attempted attacks like the one we saw last night. This has prompted the Poles to immediately start preparing bomb shelters throughout the entirety of the country, as according to information we have gotten today, bomb shelter inspections have begun across the entire nation of the Republic of Poland. The government has allocated around $5 billion for local authorities to modernize and repair existing shelters, build new protective structures, and develop warning and communication systems. This action is showing that the Republic of Poland believes that airstrikes and larger war with the Russian Federation is inevitable at this point, and as a resulting consequence of that, aerial bombardments of their nation will start to commence at a much higher rate than we have already seen so far at this point. For this reason, they are now preparing bomb shelters throughout the country, and we are expecting that most air shelters will be ready within the next month or two. The Republic of Poland is still reaching out to the Ukrainians and creating a joint cooperation in the meantime on anti-drone capabilities and acquiring skills in the operation of unmanned aerial vehicles. According to the Polish defense minister, he stated that the negotiations will focus on the development of joint industrial initiatives. It does appear clear, however, that the Republic of Poland is having to play catch-up, at least in terms of anti-drone and drone warfare capabilities in general, and that they are still continuing to see an incredibly strenuous situation evolving around the airspaces of their borders near to Kaliningrad and Belarus. As of today, the Russian military exercises of the Zapad 2025 are still ongoing near Grodno, and the Polish Iron Defender exercise, along with the Lithuanians, is also still ongoing directly across the border on the opposite side. Outside of that, inside of the Eastern Caribbean, we have been able to hear that the Venezuelans are now conducting significant military exercises in the area of the northern coast of the country. Tanks, air defense, and electronic warfare capabilities are being deployed to the island of La Urchila, near where the U.S. Navy searched a fishing vessel last week. This is believed to be some sort of an armed attempt by the Venezuelans to dissuade the United States of America from conducting any kind of militaristic actions inside of their waters under the threat that their vessels and forces may come under fire. fire. It is highly likely that that may be what the United States is actually looking for at this moment, is an attempted provocation of the Venezuelans. That way the Venezuelans will fire at the United States, and then the United States will say that the Venezuelans are interdicting the U.S.'s abilities to deal with terrorist organizations and to also be able to stop international drug trades, which are generally considered under international law to be highly illegal. That would give the United States the proper diplomatic justification to state that Nicolas Maduro's illegitimate government is in the support of drug cartels, and not only that, global terrorism, and for that reason, they would be able to go in and start dealing with the Venezuelan nation in a militaristic sense. The 22nd MEU certainly appears to be ready to go, at least in that instance, as more pictures have been published today by U.S. Southcom Command out of Miami, Florida, showing the force preparedness of the 22nd MEU and the amphibious landing operations and drills that are still being conducted around the island of Puerto Rico, an overseas U.S. territory within the Caribbean. On top of that, the United States of America has also ended up today boarding a narco boat in the area of the Pacific, as the United States Coast Guard published footage of Operation Pacific Viper 3 showing them seizing a low visibility narco vessel, which we can actually see in this clip right here. We can see them reaching the boat rapidly. U.S. operations against drug cartels within South and Central America are certainly ramping up at the moment, but it does appear that this is all a larger attempt to curb Chinese influence inside the area of the Eastern Caribbean. We are also seeing that such an attempt to curb Chinese influence is apparently now re-emerging inside of Afghanistan, as we have been able to hear that the United States of America is wanting to reclaim the famous nearby, or at least local, Kabul airspace, or airbase, which was Bagram Air Base. Bagram Air Base was the largest operational airbase of the Soviet forces in Afghanistan from 1979 to 1989, and it then further became the largest operational airbase of the United States and our coalition inside of Afghanistan from about 2001 onwards to the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2021. This airbase has largely been abandoned since then, and during the U.S. withdrawal, which was initiated around the years of 2018 and 2019, the base started to see a marked decrease in the amount of personnel that were present, with the President of the United States at that time stating that it was planned that the Kabul Air Base, along with the entirety of Afghanistan, would be evacuated of all U.S. forces, with the last U.S. forces leaving out of Kabul at the Kabul International Airport at some point in the mid to latter part of 2021. That appears to have been something that has now been decided was a mistake, as we have been able to hear that the President of the United States is now stating that they are trying to reclaim the Bagram Air Base just north of Kabul in Afghanistan, claiming China now controls the airbase, which is a claim that Afghan authorities have denied. The President has criticized the prior administration for handing it over, highlighting the base's strategic importance near Chinese nuclear facilities. I do want to point out, however, that the current administration is the one that actually started the withdrawal from Bagram Air Force Base, and for that reason, it really wasn't the failing of the last administration for leaving Bagram Air Base. It was more so the failing of the current administration for leaving Bagram Air Base in the first place. The withdrawal from Afghanistan was not necessarily conducted from 2020 to 2021, but was a multi-year operation starting in 2018 and ending in 2021, but had been started by the current administration in their last term in office. Not trying to make a political matter out of this, but one thing I would like to say, however, is that continuously pulling U.S. forces out of every single corner in the world, in this instance alone, is already showing to be a bad idea. Bagram Air Base is, as a matter of fact, in a strategically important location. And having an American-aligned Afghanistan, at least as far as its central government was concerned inside of Kabul, was an incredibly important thing for the United States in terms of power projection, not only in Central America, which is an area which we currently really can't power project into, at least under U.S. CENTCOM's command, but it also allowed for us to expand our operations in a potential conflict into Western China, which is pretty much impossible for the United States to reach at the moment through conventional means. This is the reason why withdrawing U.S. forces is not a great idea in every single instance and scenario, because now we're talking about wanting to reclaim the Bagram airbase, which we had clear and defined control over until the prior administration and the current administration in its last term decided that the best idea was to just pack up and go running away from the Bagram airbase, which was the most strategically placed airbase in the entirety of in the Central Asian region. Nevertheless, we have been able to hear that the Republic of India is apparently having further sanctions implemented against it, as India has been attempting to help develop Iran's Chabahar port into a larger commercial facility, which has now brought further U.S. sanctions against them for India's support of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The Islamic Republic of Iran, in the meantime, has appeared to be able to get some supplies in somewhat consistently, as we were able to see a test of an unidentified ballistic missile today within the western airspace of the Islamic Republic.
ماهم پایینم یه تیکه دود بیشتر شده انگار.
We are unsure what type of ballistic missile this was. It does appear to be a part of a larger Iranian test, which may be suggesting that this is a newer ballistic missile model that they're attempting to implement into their armed forces that may have a longer range than prior missiles that have been seen so far. Iran's largest and most capable missiles are considered to be intermediate range ballistic missiles and are able to put a significant area of Europe, including the southern areas of Germany, under the threat of missile fire. We are believing that the Islamic Republic of Iran is continuing to develop their ballistic missile programs in the attempt of hopefully creating an intercontinental ballistic missile in the future that not only will be able to threaten the larger areas of Asia and Europe, but will eventually be able to reach the United States of America itself, once again adding the concern and urgency to stopping them from creating a nuclear weapon, as it is only a matter of time before they're able to mate that nuclear weapon with an intercontinental ballistic missile and create a weapon of mass destruction that can reach the United States of America and the lower 48 within a matter of minutes. On top of that, the Israelis have continued to find themselves under attack by Iranian-backed forces, including those of the Yemeni Houthis, as we were able to see that after an Israeli air defense engagement today, one of those Houthi drones actually ended up falling into Eilat. We will not show the clip, but you can see the small speck of the drone right there in the air, and it actually did land and crash inside the city of Eilat. Moving out of the Middle East and back into Europe, we have also been able to continue to hear from the United States of America further developments on the situation with the Russians, with the President of the United States stating that he is believed that President Putin let him down and did not end the war as easily as he originally believed. We will not be able to show that clip due to possible copyright issues. However, I will be providing a link to this map in the description below this video, which will allow you to be able to access this map and actually click on the links that you're seeing here on the video. On top of that, the United States government has also stated that they are racing to adopt drone technology, as the war in Ukraine is certainly exposing gaps in outdated, costly technology that appears to not be able to evolve or adapt to the modern war which we are seeing unfolding inside the fields of Eastern Europe. On top of that, we have been able to hear that the Baltic states are continuing their support in anti-Russian interests, or largely in pro-Western interests, as we were able to hear an announcement from the Estonian government today that they will be completely stopping Russian natural gas imports by 2026. Those natural gas imports are largely at a crawl even at this moment, but all natural gas imports will be stopped by 2026. The Latvian authorities also found the debris of what appears to be a Russian drone, which washed up on the coast today of the Latvian state. It appears that the Latvian armed forces, which is headquartered out of their capital in Vilnius, I'm sorry, correction, it's not Vilnius, it's Riga in Latvia. That is the capital of Latvia. Vilnius is actually the capital of Lithuania. But nevertheless, they did find another piece of debris on shore of what appears to be some sort of a Russian drone, and currently the Latvian armed forces are conducting a full-scale investigation and are also sending out the unexploded ordnance neutralization team, aka the bomb squad, to be able to ensure that the drone does not pose a danger of exploding for further investigations. We have also been able to hear even further news out of Lithuania that they have cut their last power lines to the Russian Federation today. The National Electricity Transmission Operator, Litgrid, announced the complete dismantling of cross-border power lines that link the country with Russia's Kaliningrad region. The dismantling began in early February of this year, right after the Baltic states synchronized with Europe's power grid, ending 65 years of operating in the same system with Russia and Belarus. Minsk, by the way, will be cut off soon as well. The removal of lines is scheduled for 2027 with the Republic of Belarus. The door of the Soviet past is being shut and firmly blocked, which we have to agree with Nexta, is an incredibly brilliant move. It does appear that the Baltic states, including Lithuania, are not only working heavily towards their collective defense, but are also working heavily to completely sever any economic connections or ties that they once had with the Russian Federation or the former Soviet Union at large. We've also been able to hear in the meantime in the war in Ukraine that it appears that the armed forces of Ukraine have been able to land some incredibly successful hits against that of the Russian Federation's petrochemical plants in Salavat inside the Ufa region, or as it's called in its longer form, the Bashkortostan region, which is an incredibly difficult name to say. It's much easier to say Ufa. Nevertheless, this was a successful hit 1,300 kilometers inside the Russian Federation, which is equivalent to about 900 to 1,000 miles, and we can actually see the petrochemicals plant on fire here. The fire does appear to be burning quite significantly, and we do understand that this petrochemical plant will most likely cause some issues for the Russian war industry, at least on the minutiae of development of weapons and also the production of particular weapon systems. However, we're not expecting this to create an immediate effect on the Russian armed forces at the moment, but it will be a cumulative effect that will most likely grow over the coming months. Outside of that, and in Ukraine, on the front lines themselves, we were able to get an announcement today by the armed forces of Ukraine's commanders within the area of the Bakrovsk front from Colonel Valentin Manko that according to his statements, which I will not be able to show the video once again due to possible copyright issues, he has stated that Russian forces near Dobroglia have been cut off for 3 weeks. 3 encirclements, according to his assessments, have formed. A small one near Kucherev Yar, a medium one around Volodymyrivka, and a large one, which has been previously unreported, likely on the Rezine-Rodinske line. We're awaiting more confirmation at the moment, but this is believed to be the current situation of Russian armed forces within the area, and it does appear to be an incredibly tough one, at least for the Russians at the moment. It is incredibly clear that the Ukrainian armed forces did conduct their pincer maneuver with the 425th Assault Regiment, which was spoken about on this channel around a week and a half ago, and that pincer movement has largely appeared to become successful. Russian forces appear to be encircled everywhere, and we're assuming that some flying retreats may have been conducted by the near 7 brigades that were within this area when the Ukrainian attempted encirclement started to begin. This also confirms, according to this Ukrainian commander's statement, that for over the past week and a half, aligning with this channel's analysis that was made during that time, that an effective encirclement had successfully been conducted by the armed forces of Ukraine within this front, but was heavily underreported by the armed forces of Ukraine and the Russian Federation for that matter. This is also showing that the Russian Federation's northern flank on the Bakrovsk front is incredibly weak and unstable and is subject to heavy Ukrainian counterattacks, which apparently can not only break through the lines, but can break through at a rapid enough speed that Russian forces are not able to retreat in time and find themselves encircled by the armed forces. The president of Ukraine, President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, also announced today the start of larger counteroffensive operations within the Donetsk region as a whole. This was during a visit that President Zelenskyy had made today towards the front lines, and while we would love to show you all this clip, it is incredibly long once again, and we do not want to spend time showing a clip that we will most likely be showing tonight on the stream. Once again, the link in the description below can be provided for you to hear the full speech from Zelenskyy. In short, Zelenskyy did state that the counteroffensive was in full swing within this area already, and that they are going to be conducting these counteroffensive operations for as long as perceivably possible. We believe that some of the Ukrainian initiatives within this area will be to reaffirm a defensive line around the town of Konstantinivka, which is currently finding itself in a bit of a bulge in the front line, where the Russians have now advanced in Chasiv Yar and Poltavka and are starting to threaten the eastern and western flanks of the city. We are also believing that continued Ukrainian counteroffensive actions will be occurring on the northern flank of Bakrovsk, while larger counteroffensive operations may be conducted in the fields south of Bakrovsk as well, near to the area of the town of Constantinople. These are all possible, but we will have to wait and see what exactly Ukrainian counteroffensive actions look like over the next coming days and weeks, and whether they're extremely successful, or if they start to run into some larger issues, for example, stiffened Russian resistance, as both sides seem to not really do too well on the offensive, at least throughout most of the war, but excel in the defensive whenever they're being attacked. Nevertheless, that is all of the major news that we have for today, and I have to thank you all so much once again for watching this short war summary that we've had here over the past 24 hours. If you have enjoyed, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We put out videos like these as much as we can and as often as we can whenever there is major news around the world to be able to cover. Also, if you would like to support this channel and help us to make these kinds of video projects possible, you can support us on Patreon, link in the description below, for about the cost of a cup of coffee every single month. For about $5 a month, you can actually help us here on the Enforcer channel to make these kinds of news summaries possible. We run ad-free and sponsor-free live streams, and while our videos do have ads, any and every single bit of support that anyone can provide to this channel is massively appreciative, and it helps us to continue to focus our efforts full-time on getting this news out to y'all as much and often as we can, and to continue to focus on getting the most well-researched news, like we do, according to many, about 500,000 every single day. A huge thanks to all of y'all so much once again for watching, and we will see you all in the next one.